G'day traders, welcome to wrap up of Tuesday the 12th of June. Daily chart here. This green candle here is the one we're looking at. As we approach the open of this, after having a day yesterday where we talked about it, opening higher or above support levels and pushing down really strongly. So it definitely looked like there was some sellers around and they just wanted to hold these levels and not really go back there again. But in saying that, I guess really depending on what the market did on, it was an area where they could potentially go back, test it again, or the sellers continue on with what happened yesterday. So I certainly approached today believing that both sides could really come in and have a go. It'll be a different story once we start heading up and breaking this 1330 level again. But until we start doing that, expect both sides to come into the market. So looking at the 5-minute charts here, just having a bit of an overall look at the general trend. So to start off with, we had a bit of a sideways period here. We pushed down, we pushed up. You can see, they tried to break down and they tried to push up. No side really had any conviction, and then from there we started breaking down. And once we started breaking this level, it looked like the sellers were ready to have a bit of a go and push lower. From there, we started to have a bit of a retracement. Just waiting to see, is the market going to basically hold as it comes back into this range and then push lower, and the sellers going with it. Looked like it wasn't the case because all the other markets, in hindsight that's the case, but all the other markets were pushing up really quite strongly at this stage. You can see a couple of strong green candles here, and all the markets kind of led the way on the upside. It became quite evident that the seller's trend was over very quickly and that we're heading straight back to these cash market highs. So I got there, pushed beyond that quite easily. There was no real slowing down or stopping to have a think about here. From there, they just pushed higher. Once we get a significant push higher like this, I really thought some of those high levels that we looked at on the daily chart, 1330, for example, it's possible that the buyers want to go there. They're looking quite strong and have been building some confidence over the last days or even weeks. We're seeing these flashes of buyers coming really strong. This is a strong buyers trend to take over the sellers and then break higher like that. So we pull back. Some sort of 5-minute buy around this at which we got here, I thought has some value, especially this kind of one here, even though it's sitting low. So all the other markets kind of pushed a bit lower, but still we're holding. While we're holding this level here, you could just have a go at the upside and put your stop below this level here. It's only a small risk. So from there, that particular area did fail. It dropped lower. What normally happens then when we start breaking this bit of a pivot area here, or what we call a swing low, you'll see the sellers just go on with it. A buying area has failed. They're breaking a buyer's holding area. That equals sellers just really going for it and pushing down lower, and many times they will. This particular case, they got a couple of ticks out and then turned back around again on the upside. So I think that was, again, like looking into that, that's something that's certainly supporting the buyers, and something that makes it look like the buyers are really hanging around and got some strength here. From there, they had a bit of a sideways period. Nearly got another 5-minute buy here, which would have been very interested in. And you can see from there we pushed higher, had a bit of a pullback, and then again they've just gone and broken these highs. And from there we've headed up to about 1320, and so there's a little evidence that these buyers are around, and even when we got some areas here where it looked like it was going to break down, the fact that it held and then pushed higher just shows how strong these buyers are. So that's on the 5-minute chart. Just moving over to the 1-minute chart. So we had this this period where we didn't push strongly through this power point, popped up sideways through here, then tried to push higher. Then we've come quite strongly back down to downside. Then we bounced through between power points. So you can see even when it was pushing down, so we talked about how the sellers initially had the first bit of control of the market. It's with no real strength here. You can see the market popping up quite strongly and not pushing down through these power points. In fact, each of these buy power points work quite well, even though the market's heading down. So that in itself is evidence that there's probably buyers coming, and that soon enough they're not just going to have a bounce. They're going to actually push through some levels. That's exactly what came here, around this area here. I guess it's quite early, and even with the other markets pushing higher, it's very hard to fade something like this. It's the first one. I guess if you pushed up like this, then come back, and if it came back a couple of points, then the power fade on the upside would definitely be one to look at. This one's a bit extended. In hindsight, it has worked as well, but what you want to see is break a level, just get a little bit through there, and convince you that the buyer's trend is certainly starting. then get the pull back into the range, and then launch on the upside and have like a power fade sitting just above this area here, and rather than sitting up this high like this. But certainly these buys are strong all the way up through here, power fade after power fade just working. Eventually this market's turned around at the yellow. From there, when you get quite an extended trend like this, you can either look at the first pullback or the second pullback. These areas both working quite well. The second pullback, if the purple fails, is working about 70% of the time, and this purple after a 10-point trend is working quite well, even though not this time, but both areas that can quite often work. So strong buy areas there. From there, the market's popped back, so you can see it's not pushing down through any level. So there's still evidence, from looking at this, that there's buyers lurking around. It's not like they're breaking down through these power points. They're certainly holding and looking like they want to push higher. We then came to that sideways period just outside of lunch, and then this is where the buyers really launched themselves again. So this area here, they were looking for the 5-minute buy, so I guess potential for some sort of fading area. Pushed higher, then had another little bit of a pullback before launching again. Basically, this second real strong trend on the upside, and from there it's just pushed higher and away with these buyers, and a continuation of their strength that they had through most of the day, apart from really that initial first bit of a sell-off that happened, but certainly without any conviction for the sellers. So certainly a buyer's day. It's interesting to see where they want to go, and I think they're really thinking about having a go at that 1330 levels. So we haven't really gone anywhere in the pre-market at the moment, but 1330 is an area that's sort of the last resort for the sellers, and see if the buyers head up and test that area and even break through it potentially. So that's a wrap up for Tuesday. We'll speak to you guys Wednesday.